In the Skyrim criminal justice system, all perpetrators are guilty until they have proven themselves innocent, unless they're like tight with the Jarl, in which case they can pretty much do whatever they want. These are their stories.
We've all been there, right? It's your first time in Riverwood and for whatever reason you decide to kill a chicken, only to be met with mass retaliation. Well, that can only mean one thing. Unsanctioned chicken killings are illegal in Skyrim. But what else is illegal in Skyrim? And that's what I'm here to figure out. But before we could do that, we need to understand how Skyrim's government works. As you may know, a government can work on different levels: federal, state, and local. Federal being the whole country, state being the states, and local being local. And it pretty much works the same way in Tamriel. There's the Empire acting as the federal government, the provinces acting as the states, then the local government is going to be however those provinces are divided within themselves. For example, since we're looking at Skyrim, we're talking about the 9 holds. Each of those holds is ruled by a Jarl, who then typically answers to the High King or Queen of Skyrim, who then typically answers to the Emperor of the whole Empire. Notice how I said typically. This is because at the time of the game, there is no active king or queen of Skyrim. It's kind of up for debate at the moment, which means that it's just the Jarls individually answering to or rejecting the Empire. And that has led to some turmoil. But regardless, that's the basic structure of Skyrim's government. Next, we need to figure out what kind of laws this government enforces, and what you do in real life when you want to learn about something that you don't know anything about. And let's pretend that the internet doesn't exist for a second. That's right, you go to the library. In the Arcanium in the College of Winterhold, you can find a book called Skyrim's Rule. But all this book really tells you is the structure of Skyrim's government, which I already told you, so this book is pretty useless to us. Unfortunately, the only other law book in the game is about ancient Dwemer law, which is even more useless to us. So we are going to have to venture outside of Skyrim and go all the way to Daggerfall to get the information that we're looking for. Because in Daggerfall, there's a book called Legal Basics. This book is the closest thing that the Empire has to a constitution. It basically states that the following laws are the most universal Tamrielian laws. That's the federal government. But each province is going to have unique laws of its own. That's the state government. But for the most part, the federal laws stated in this book are the ones that you would expect to see in any society. Breaking and entering, trespassing, assault, murder, criminal conspiracy, smuggling, treason, pickpocketing, and theft. But my favorite is vagrancy, because it's basically stating that it's illegal to be homeless, yet the punishment for it can be a fine. It just seems kind of ironic. But these aren't the only federal laws enforced by the Empire. There's been legislative acts as well. The first one being the Guild Act. The Guild Act basically states that a bunch of labor unions were officially recognized by the Empire. But it's not really about making anything illegal or legal, so we'll just skip over it for now. Just know that the Thieves Guild is not connected. The other legislative act was the Levitation Act, which restricted the use of levitation magic. Mainly because it's an insane safety hazard and security risk. But really it was for the sake of gameplay design, because the cities in Oblivion and Skyrim are located in separate cells from the rest of the world, and since cities don't render until you enter them, it just wouldn't work. And then the final and most significant legislative act is the White Gold Concordant, the treaty that ended the Great War, but banned worshipping Talos. We'll talk about that more in a bit. Other things that are illegal in the Empire are slavery, piracy, black soul gems, and the trading of Khajiit furs and Argonian skins, which I did not think was a problem. But if you're looking for an in-game book recommendation, I recommend The Confessions of a Khajiit Fur Trader. It's pretty messed up. But those are all the federal laws in Tamriel that I could find. But there's still the question of what laws are unique to Skyrim. The only one that I could think of off the top of the dome was that it's illegal to make really bad meat, which is just so Skyrim. But the best way to figure out what people are being arrested for is to go to the actual jails and see what's up. The prisons of Skyrim is where you can find a menagerie of different criminals, like murderers, thieves, and lollygaggers. But the one most unique to Skyrim would be the Forsworn, Skyrim's own unique breed of rebels who are trying to reclaim their land in the Reach. Now this brings us up the topic of the right of conquest. In our reality, the right of conquest was completely abolished in international law after World War II. But if you know anything about Elder Scrolls history, then you know this like the number one thing that people do. And with that comes the never-ending cycle of violence. So if we look at the Reach, for example, who lived there first? The Reach folk did? Okay, but then the Norse came and conquered them? Oh, but now the Reach folk want their land back, so they're gonna invade Markarth and reclaim the Reach while most of the Skyrim is off fighting in the Great War? Oh, but now the Great War is over, and now the Norse want the Reach back, so they're going to send Ulfric Stormcloak to kill all these Reach men and reclaim the Reach for themselves, thus creating the rebellious faction known as the Forsworn? Which means that it's illegal to be a Forsworn in Skyrim, and that the right of conquest is totally bonkers. And since we're on the topic of rebelling, in the Riften prison you can find Threki the Innocent who got arrested for speaking out against Ulfric. But in Solitude, you can find Bjartur who got arrested for speaking out against the Empire. So I guess free speech and individual rights just aren't a thing in Skyrim either. And apparently it doesn't matter which side you're on, speaking out against your head of state is going to land you in prison. Thank God we don't live in a place like that. And let's not forget to address the elephant in the room, or in this case the werewolf in the water torture prison cell. Sinding was arrested for, allegedly, tearing a little girl apart while being under the influence of the moon. He says, quote, "I just lost control. That it happened because of a ring cursed by Hircine. That it was an accident." So all this got me thinking, can Sinding be held responsible for his actions if he was literally cursed? Well, I asked an actual defense attorney, and here's how it went.
Hello?
Hey, you busy?
No. What's up?
I'm doing research for a video right now, and I have a legal question.
Okay. I don't know if I'll know the answer, but
Okay, so
what's the question?
let's say there's a guy in prison, right? And he's arrested for murdering a little girl.
That's why he's in prison?
That's why he's in prison.
Okay.
Is there ever a defense or a case that you can make that he wasn't responsible for his actions?
So he murdered a little girl. How did
Yeah.
he murder her?
Well, he was cursed by a supernatural deity, and he was possessed by a beast influenced by the moon. And
Okay.
and then he tore the little girl apart.
Why did he do that? Because he thought she was a threat or what?
Well, he quote says it was an accident. He lost
an
control, but it was all because of this cursed ring.
All right. So what was he? It was an accident, and he lost control. What was he trying to do then?
Not kill her,
So then why did he tear her apart?
because he was turned into a beast.
Okay.
He's a werewolf.
He's a werewolf.
Yeah, but he didn't choose to become a werewolf.
Well, I mean, the closest thing would be he's not guilty because he has a mental disorder.
So lycanthropy is a mental disorder.
Well,
And
that's
that's
the
the-
closest thing.
that's
I
the-
mean, if he lost control, because of this condition that he had, that's the closest thing I could think of. I mean, he didn't mean to kill her, and the reason he did kill her is because of this force in his brain that he lost control of, you know?
So those are some things that people have been arrested for. But here are some other things that you could also be arrested for. Punching a chicken, hitting a dog, tipping a cow, whacking a goat. Okay, so Skyrim enforces basic animal cruelty laws, which is good. But you know what isn't illegal? Daedra worship. There are no religious bans in the Empire except the Talos one, which is wild because the Thalmor and their Elven supremacy just wanted him banned because they couldn't accept the fact that a human could achieve godhood when High Elves think that they're the only ones that should be able to do that. I know it goes a bit deeper than that, but you know what I'm saying. Anyways, officially worshipping Daedra like Vermina, Namira, or Molag Bal isn't illegal. People just do it in secret because, like, it's pretty fucked up if you do it. So really it's more of a taboo than an actual law. But I don't think it would be such a bad idea to officially ban it though. I just feel like you can't discourage worshipping Molag Bal enough. If you know, you know. You can argue that the Vigilants of Stendarr sort of act as the Daedra police, but officially they aren't affiliated with any law enforcement. They're more independent and volunteer-based, and they answer to religious authority rather than civil authority. So they're like a really religious neighborhood watch for demons. Or Chris Hansen. But you know what else we haven't seen any examples of? Drug laws. As we've learned previously, skooma is the most addictive and illegal substance in all of Tamriel. Yet if you carry skooma around, the guards hardly seem to bat an eye. This implies that the drug laws in Skyrim are either a lot more relaxed than we thought, or the guards just don't give a damn. The only evidence we have of skooma actually being illegal is if you come across a dealer on the road and you ask him if it's legal, he'll attack you and call you a snitch.
Ah, snitch, eh? Can't have you running to any guards now, can I?
Or there's a quest in Riften when you report Wujita's dealers to the guards. I think this implies that Skyrim's drug laws strictly revolve around the distribution of it, and not possession of it. And this leads me to believe that Skyrim believes in the punishment for dealers and rehabilitation for users, which is also good. The final way we can figure out what's illegal in Skyrim is through Jarl bounties. The Jarl's bounties are a legal document giving you permission to go kill someone or something that's causing trouble within the hold, in exchange for a cash prize.
It's like a reward.
It's usually a bandit boss or a dragon or a forsworn or a giant. I usually throw those last ones out because if a giant is being a problem, it's probably because you poked the bear first. So just leave the giants alone. But otherwise, since bounties can be taken out against these other things, it's safe to assume that being those things is illegal. Except maybe the dragon. That's more like addressing a massive safety hazard than getting rid of an actual criminal. Unless the dragon is a skooma dealer. And lastly, every crime needs to have a punishment that fits it appropriately. But not in good old Skyrim. Because in Skyrim, it doesn't seem to matter what crime you commit. The response will always be met with police brutality, and sometimes followed by cruel and unusual punishment. For example, if you punch a chicken in Winterhold, you risk freezing to death in a frozen prison guarded by frost astronauts. And on the other hand, you could slit a man's throat and then just sleep off the punishment in one night. Or you could just be a Breton living in Markarth, get falsely accused of murder, then join a prison gang for survival. Or just be friends with the Jarl, and then you could literally do whatever you want.
Oh, forgive me, Thane. I didn't realize it was you. We'll look the other way this time.
It ain't the perfect system, but it's the system we got. So in conclusion, here's a list of all the things that are illegal in Skyrim, on all federal, state, and local level. It seems like the justice system in Skyrim is a lot like the Pirates Code, more like guidelines and actual rules. Which is pretty messed up when you think about it. Because justice is pretty important in a society. It's the cornerstone of a stable moral society. It prevents arbitrary rule, and it holds all people accountable for their actions, which in turn promotes public trust. And we could use a little bit of that right now. I know we like to pretend how cool it would be to live in Skyrim, when in reality this place is absolutely riddled with reasons to not want to. Who knew that the justice system would be another one of those reasons? But anyways, that's it for now. Thanks for sticking around. Take care of yourself.